Don't you think it's time for the city of Savannah to have an honest tourism management plan? That SCAD start paying its fair share? And the hospitality industry needs to increase its wages? The impacts of new growth should not cost residents. All local elected officials on council and commission should have term limits. We're working hard to accomplish these policies. We need your help. Please contribute whatever you can, $5, $10, or $20, by going to bettersavannah.org. Donate. Thank you.
The following show and broadcast is a production of Better Savannah, an independent expenditure committee dedicated to better policy outcomes at the state and local level. The views, opinions, and statements made by the hosts and/or their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of Better Savannah.
Here, Better Savannah. So I clicked on that, and here you go. Reformation through policy. Better Savannah. Now I got to give them this. They got better graphics than I do.
What's up, John?
Hey, man.
How you doing, man? What's up, man? Welcome back. We're both back from some vacation.
Yeah.
It's been about a week and a half, I think, since we recorded, and a lot is going on, John. We got a lot of updates to talk about. How was your trip?
I was good. I was gone for 3 weeks. Love California, and tried to look in on things and stay in touch. I appreciate you keeping us together and out there. It was a good job.
We do the best we can. I stuck up to Charleston for a couple of days. It was very nice. First time staying in downtown. Very nice restaurants. Made me think a lot about the difference between Charleston and Savannah, for sure. Just reflecting on the last 20 or 25 years. But we want to just get right to the show. I want to start us off. Do a little warm up for us here on kind of a brand new story. Just hit the wires on SavannahMorningNews.com. It's about the city's budget hearing. So our longtime listeners, viewers know, we just had Terry Tolbert on our last episode 45. I'll link that episode in this episode's description. And Terry kind of previewed for us that the digest was going to be
Strong,
over 5%. What did it end up being, John? What's the number?
6.56 increase in revenue.
6.56% increase. So the city, John, held what I'm going to just call a secret budget meeting on Monday. Okay.
Why secret?
So I found out about this meeting at 8:55 a.m. and it's at 9 a.m. Okay. They moved the meeting to the Civic Center. All right. They said that they do not have the technical capability to live stream in the Civic Center. And so the best source is literally Alderman at Large Alicia Miller Blakely's phone. Okay. I haven't had a chance to review this whole budget meeting yet, but I just want to pull up this article let me go ahead and pop this into the stream here, right? So, citizens aren't going to see a tax increase this year. And again, like they say, like, despite its appearance, it isn't. And so again, this is that same thing we dealt with last year. Okay. Anytime the tax digest grows to a point where there is more revenue coming to the city, that is in fact by state law a tax increase. So, last year you had the government, the mayor kind of defending it. And now you got the media and the mayor defending it, that it's not a tax increase. It is a tax increase. It's just on those who don't have Stevens Day exemptions and commercial property. Am I a fan of it? Sort of, yes. On the by and by, probably. But I think the question we want to start with here, John, is who in their right mind thinks that Savannah doesn't have any money? This is $5 million going straight to the general fund, right?
Yeah, 5.1 new additional general fund dollars for this year. Can I make a point here, Chuck?
Go ahead, make a point. Yeah, let's start here with this.
So this public budget workshop meeting is held at the Civic Center, but they don't have the capability to share that with the public.
That's what I was told by the city clerk.
Okay, well, look at. Doesn't the gun show come there twice a year? I mean,
sure.
I was there, 4 years ago, and bought a gun, and I went through a background check, instantaneous, through the technology. I was cleared, I was approved, and I bought my gun. If they can do that, surely they can broadcast a budget meeting.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just total BS. I submitted a complaint to the Attorney General's office because I believe it's a violation of the spirit of sunshine laws. Maybe not the letter, but certainly the spirit. I love this quote from the 4th District Alderman. I think maintaining the current budgeted millage rate is an effective way to combat some of those inflation forces out there to make sure that we can still tread water. I'm always astounded at how many politicians all of a sudden have macroeconomic backgrounds, and understand things like inflationary forces or deflationary forces. In general, inflationary forces are tracking on a 1-year period. Last year was the worst year ever for the first half of the year, so the first 3 quarters of the year. Of course, inflation is through the roof. This is a quote from Nick Palumbo. I think maintaining the current budgeted millage rate is an effective way to combat some of those inflation forces out there to make sure that we can still tread water. I mean, it's just like a middle class talking point, upper middle class talking point, I guess. Honestly, the inflation most people in Savannah, are worried about is gas. It's the very bare essentials.
Well, look at to your point, Chuck. I think Nick's expertise is not in economics; it's in security protection for state diplomats traveling abroad. So,
well, I'm sorry to say, but that expertise is not being used very well for the police department. We'll get to police department later on in the episode, but I just thought that was a good point you're making there. I do agree with you that I think that's one of his foremost expertise. I would appreciate that being used.
Me too.
A little bit more in the light of the emergency we're going through.
Me too. So, policeman for a good number of years before going into military safety for traveling diplomats. So
remember that a lot of the downtown development is coming online to the tax digest. Okay, you got a lot more coming next year. Remember that Terry said that as big as this year's increase is going to be, next year's is going to be bigger.
Yeah, and before we talk about next year, let's remember and point out to our listeners that Savannah River Landing, what's it called now? Eastern Wharf. Is
a tax allocation district.
Right. And they're selling units. The development is happening.
So when Savannah Morning News says, quotes this Maxwell, and David knows this. I mean, this is David Maxwell probably being a little disingenuous right here, pointing towards this Eastern Wharf. The majority of the taxes are going to stay right there.
Exactly.
We're not even getting that money to the general fund.
No, only the original undeveloped land value is going to go
right
into the general fund like it used to.
Just like CETA deals.
Yeah, it's one of the grossly unhelpful structural imbalances that we have in our city policy, but that's for another show.
Well, look, guys, I want to leave it right here, guys. The public will get a chance to weigh in on the millage rate during 3 upcoming public hearings. Okay. July 22nd, 4 and 6 p.m., August 12th, 2 p.m. So that's 3 different times. That's not bad.
Yeah. But your was, and to put a tack in this thing is
sure
between our combined real estate, knowledge of the local market. We both know, and Terry Tolbert confirmed, chairman of the Board of Assessors.
That's right.
Next year's digest, 2022, is probably going to be at least twice the growth that this year's was. So, good news for the city. New revenue recurring revenue is showing up, and it's going to get even better.
All right. So look, I think we're going to monitor that. I'm sure I'm going to go speak at one of those hearings. I would appreciate other people coming to come and speak on them. I'd be happy to give you some things to prepare to say. But this next, this is just, again, like a quick run of things to warm up the show here, because I want to put this as a call out there to our viewers and our listeners, John. This issue is like heating up. In 3.5 weeks, allegedly, we're not going to have enough bus drivers. Okay? We're not going to have enough bus drivers to bus all of the kids to school. All right? Now,
Man,
John,
tell me about this.
What'd you say?
No,
I didn't get a chance to tell you about that. I meant to mention this to you, but I want to talk about this because we don't have to go that in depth, but I want to say anybody watching, anybody from the school board, David Brinkman, Michael Johnson, Dr. Tony Howard Hall, if you want to come on and talk about this, I'm kind of putting this out there as just like a clarion call, John, for a future episode, because, I mean, this has got to be a big, issue. So this is, an op-ed from Katrina Bostic, who's the head of Family Promise. And again, I'll link these into the show here. Go ahead,
Chuck. What's the, I've been out of town.
Let me get to it. It's on the news side here. Hang on. Where is it? Wade Herring. There it is. This is the article. Savannah Chatham parents must answer ridership survey as transportation concerns bubble at meeting. All this got published yesterday, for today's paper. All right. So let me just do this reading series and then we'll react. Okay.
Right.
All right. This is Barbara Ogdorfer. She's out of Augusta. She covers stuff here in Savannah as well for these 2 papers for the USA Today section of Savannah Morning News, obviously. All right. Student transportation continued to be a hot topic of discussion at the regular meeting of the Savannah Chatham County School Board on Wednesday afternoon. The sticking point is the persistent shortage of drivers. Quote, "We have the buses, we have the monies, we just need the drivers," said Joe Buck, board president, at the board's informal meeting on Wednesday morning. Referring to quotes from a former school board member published in a Tuesday Savannah Morning News article, Buck reiterated that they just need drivers, and the remarks intimating that District Superintendent Ann Levette was trying to do away with the district's choice school program was not true. Due to the bus driver shortage, students attending choice schools in 2021-2022 are priority 4 or 5 and may not have bus transportation when the school starts in 3 weeks. All right. Good. So, these are, I'm not, like, again, this is not our wheelhouse, obviously, guys. The school board, choice schools, these types of things are not my expertise. But I want to read further this piece here. Tammy Perkins, the district's lead transportation director, told the board that with the current number of certified drivers and using the current numbers, the district could possibly be able to transport students in the first 3 priority groups. So, they're already saying 4 and 5 is probably not going to happen. But this next line says that in the first 3 priority groups, it says possibly, not even that guaranteed. So I mean, to me, like we've got a major issue here,
But this
not
is
just that 4 or 5. All right, we're going to get to that. And this is, again, I want to put this out there as a future episode idea because, again, I just had a chance to read this. Okay, so in her presentation, she showed 11,599 students in zoned elementary and K through 8 schools who are eligible for transportation. But with current staffing levels, the district will be able to support only 9,461 students. If more parents can opt out of transportation, and of course, if more drivers can be hired, trained, and certified, all children in Priority 2 could possibly have bus transportation. So it seems like only Priority 1 really has a guarantee here based on how we're reading this. This is a ridiculous quote. David Brinkman, District 6 representative, said he declined bus transportation for his child because he can ride his bike to school. Like, again, in other news, anecdotal evidence is still anecdotal. Like it's not about your kid. It's about the kids. Well, I just think again, I'm not saying David chose that quote to be pulled out. That could be Savannah Morning News only pulling that quote out of a 7 to 10 minute interview. But I just think that's a little ridiculous to only put that context in there from a district representative that's elected to the board. Go ahead, John.
This is because we can't find drivers for the buses.
Yes. All right. So I want you to notice we're at the end of this article. Okay. It's talking about service. This is like passing the buck to your own constituents. You deal with it. Tell us if you're going to opt out. Now, notice what is conspicuously missing. What is missing from this equation, John? What's missing?
Okay, what's missing is any explanation or conjecture as to why
correct
they don't have adequate drivers.
And what is the number one reason people don't take a job, John?
Money.
Yeah. Money. So how much money do you think a bus driver makes? Let's find out.
Well, while you're looking that up, Chuck, I'll say this seems eerily similar to the police department staffing problem.
Always. Yes, absolutely. All right. So let's see here. We're looking for salary. What is your guess here? What's your guess for the starting salary? That's what I want to know.
$26,000 a year.
All right. ZipRecruiter, 22 to 38,000. Salary.com, 29 to 47. Now, knowing Chatham County, it's easy to guess that we're at the bottom end of this range.
Sure.
And this is for the state of Georgia. So that's including like Atlanta.
All right. So 22.
Who wants to work for $24,000 a year? Okay. You only get paid 9 months out of the year. Then you have to file unemployment every year. Right. Like no mention of the wage issue. Right?
Yeah.
Like, how can you talk about a shortage of labor and not talk about wages?
You can't.
And I just want to put this, because again, I'm not a parent. I know plenty of people who are. It would seem to me that transporting our children to and from school and to and from extracurricular activities, that the safety of the future of this community
ought to have some priority.
Ought to have some freaking priority. So, guys, look, share this, please. Please share the stream, share this part of the show, because I just really think this is fascinating, and I'm kind of just taken aback in terms of this just now. But how is this just now publicized in the last 7 to 10 days? I think it's become publicized. I mean, we're 3 weeks from the start of school. This does not make sense.
Well. Listen, maybe in our vast viewing audience, there's people who are expert in the schools. We are not. It's not our wheelhouse. You pointed that out. But Jenny McCord, Jenny Brannon, there's got to be some folks out there. If they want to contact us, please do so. And we're offering our platform to you to discuss this, to inform the community. So have at it. We welcome it.
I feel like I don't want to name specific bus drivers, but maybe Jerome Irwin from the Labor Council might be a good guest on this. I just want to point out this comment on our live stream here from Rebecca. SCCPS is looking for ways to spend the CARES Act money too. This is a great point. Okay, like we know it's not a money issue. The question is, have their human resources allocated higher salaries for this department in response to this market condition, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a market condition. You have to respond. Labor is short across the board. And I just, again, I want to talk about this on a future episode. Rebecca, you're absolutely right. It's only widens the gap between the haves and have-nots. As much issues we pay a lot of attention to the city, John, like, between the county commission and the school board, man, they got a lot coming. They need some scrutiny as well.
Man, the Housing Authority of Savannah needs a boatload of scrutiny. There's so many targets and so little time. It's, you say the school's not in our wheelhouse. Chuck, you and I both know.
Right.
If we had the time and the people, man, the school board needs it worse than city council. But it's such an unwieldy monster. We chose to focus on county commission and city council. But one day, maybe somebody will start up something like Better Savannah and just focus on the freaking schools.
Better schools in Savannah, better Chatham schools. I don't know. Again, you're correct. This is not our wheelhouse of expertise, but clearly
we can't do it all.
No, we cannot do it all. And everybody knows that we can't do it all. They need to,
but we acknowledge
with the times.
It's a crying shame and an area that just is begging for some scrutiny and clarity and wisdom. So, let's saddle up and do something.
As I told you in a private call the other day, John, there are 4 main issues going around in town right now that a lot of people are failing leadership tests at. All right. We got the first round of the federal money, right?
Right.
We got the weeping time, which we're about to discuss next. We've got the city manager decision, and we got the budget and taxes across all the governing authorities. So, the school board just got done announcing, to much fanfare and bragging that they were lowering taxes, and they can't even staff the bus department. So,
maybe they shouldn't have reduced the millage rate, kept the money, and put it into salaries for bus drivers. How about that?
I mean, look, I'm not here to say that that's what they should have done. I'm just here to say they have the money to do all of this. If they have the money, they need to get it done. All right, John, let's move on to a topic that's, really, this has been a mainstay in our shows the last couple of months since it really broke out of the open. The Weeping Time Coalition, is gaining steam, John. You are an active full-time member of the coalition.
Yep.
I want to pull up this video from the press conference. So I want to make sure that people understand the city said they were going to announce findings by last Friday. Okay, July 8th, I think. They said they were going to announce the findings. Now, according to the alderwomen at large, Michael Brown has submitted some report to somebody. I don't remember who or what. I think it's Department of Community Affairs is what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, on the day that, we were expecting some announcement from the city and instead just found out privately that Michael Brown submitted it to the state. There was a press conference, and I want to introduce people to Councilman Griffin Lotson of Darien, Georgia. He's the former mayor pro tem of that city, and he is a commissioner on several federal authorities surrounding a lot of Gullah Geechee and history and things of that nature. So, can you hear that, John, or no?
No, I cannot.
Oh, all right. I got to unmute it.
You want me to mute myself?
Yep.
It was 9:06. It's all over. We wouldn't be having this meeting here because they would have accomplished everything. And we believe in God and a whole lot of hard work, and met with the legislators in Atlanta, Georgia, and through a small miracle, Some of your media came to Darien, and we talked about that. These are sacred grounds that we're talking about. Amen. Holy ground.
Yes, sir.
And that was stopped. So right now, I'm a member of a coalition. I serve on the city council. For the first time, we have it in the budget. It helps save the sacred grounds in Darien, Georgia. 2 years ago,
Just like that.
it was all over with.
Mhm.
And so there's much that can be done here in Savannah if we work together. We know that we need to do a lot of things for people in Savannah. I work as a humanitarian. I've raised millions of dollars, as you said, but I gave it to other folks. I didn't keep it all, okay? We did housing and different types of programs. I've been doing that for nearly 3 decades now. And so it's a lot needs to be done in Savannah, but our history and our ancestors, what we call them, something must be done.
Amen.
Now, you may not going to be able to get all of the land, but to not have done anything for over 150 years, something needs to be done. The historical marker that's down there. I wrote one of the first books, the only descendant that have written a book since the Weeping Time. Weeping Time by Georgia Geechee. Long before Ann Bailey, she consulted with me. And I said, you know what? For the good of the cause, we will not market our book. We will market your book. Because it's all about us coming together so that this history will not be lost. I can tell you more in-depth details. I actually eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff now because I want to be able to help this cause here in Savannah, Georgia. Everything from New York Times, we've done that one. Time Magazine, you name them, Sweden. Everybody wants to know about what happened here. And I only give you this tidbit because I know people like to hear things like this. But nobody knows at the time that the same Pierce Butler invited his friend, a signer of the Constitution. His family sold those slaves with George Washington. Right here in Savannah, Georgia. With the man that owned these slaves.
Yes.
Everybody knows the great play that's out there. Hamilton. My wife liked to say, take the shot, take the shot. When he got shot in the duel with the Vice President of the United States, after the Vice President killed Hamilton, do you know where he came? To the Butler Plantation. All of this is open information, but the world don't know. As an ancestor, my job is to stand strong, stand with Savannah, work on the conscience of the city of Savannah, Georgia, just like we worked on the conscience of the city of Darien. Now, there's money in the budget to preserve and protect that history, which was going to be lost by legislation just 2 years ago. Like I said, there's much more. I answer any private questions you want to know about me, my ancestors. I know a lot of them by name. I know where they're buried at. And now we're trying to educate others. And there's some that much.
You there, John? All right. So, I just thought it was very interesting, that story about how Aaron Burr, he's talking about the play Hamilton. A lot of people really love that play, big fans of it. And Aaron Burr escapes to the same plantation, which is the source of the slaves who were sold at the Weeping Time. All right. It looks like we're less than 30 days away from this decision, seeing that the submission to the state got done by City Manager Michael Brown. Do you think there's any chance for any movement? What else can people do between now and then?
Well, one thing they can do, Chuck, and it's on our Better Savannah page, is there's a petition to the mayor and council to reconsider their prior approval for the conditional use permit. That petition has just been up a matter of days, and it already has over 500 signatures on it. I would respectfully ask our viewers to either go to our page, go to my personal page, go to the Weeping Time Coalition Facebook page. you'll find a link to this standard petition and sign it and share it. Is something you can do. The Weeping Time Coalition, by the way, is open to anyone that wants to be a member of it. It is growing by leaps and bounds.
You guys are meeting on Sundays?
Yeah, we're meeting on Sundays at 4:00 at Solomon Temple Christian Church on Augusta Avenue. We can put there's plenty of links to that on all those Facebook pages I just mentioned, and yeah, that would be a great thing. You know, we're getting over 100 signatures a day right now, and people are just beginning, I think, Chuck, to understand what this struggle is all about. And it's a shame because the media has clearly been biased in their reporting. They've made it seem like this is an anti-Salvation Army group that doesn't want to help the homeless and transitional folks in our community. And nothing could be further from the truth. The Weeping Time is there's only one Weeping Time. And when I say that, I mean the entire property that was known as the Pembroke racetrack. And I'll bet you that where the devil in the detail on this is going to be is Michael Brown is going to come back and say, okay, look at, for our purposes, we only considered the racetrack proper, the Weeping Time.
And not the area that had stables and other pieces of the land, of the property. I compared, I would tell you this, I had a phone call today earlier about this issue, and I compared, like, essentially it's like the trains leading to Dachau. It's like having like that not be a part of it, you know, where the train depots get off before you get like this area of the land that Salvation Army is building on. I think theoretically, based on the research Dr. Ann Bailey's presented to everybody, is essentially where these people were housed before they were sold.
Yeah, they were examined by
they were held and examined. Stables.
Yeah,
you know, they were kept in those stables for a day or two or three or four until they were moved up into the podiums in front of the end of the race course and sold. And so I just cannot fathom how.
Well, we're
historic preservationists, you know, can argue that this isn't an atrocity.
Yeah. And by the way, where the hell is Historic Savannah on this issue? To my knowledge,
I'll give you one better. Where is Visit Savannah on this issue? Why are we not working to make this a national landmark state park, preserved with a museum, with educational opportunities?
I hear you.
You know, if we want to have a more diversified portfolio of tourism, why don't we start with tourism that reflects the true history and meaning of this city? Yeah. I just think that's something to consider.
Where's the damn Georgia Historical Society?
Where are these people?
Where's Historic Savannah? Where's Visit Savannah? Where are all the people who have built their whole repertoire around the visitor experience and preserving our history? And there's nothing. There's nothing.
Jenny says, where's Marinelli and Owens?
Listen, they are welcome to come on this show anytime. Michael Owens, Joe Marinelli.
I think we're gonna have a listening session here in a minute with them. But I just want to say this for our listeners and viewers who don't know what we're talking about. Joe Marinelli is the CEO of Visit Savannah and Visit Tybee. And Michael Owens is the CEO of the Tourism Leadership Council. So these are, two of that tourism industry's kind of largest trade representatives, so to speak. And Joe Marinelli makes like $350,000. He's, that's funded by tax dollars collected by your city government. So, I know it would be contentious, Jenny. I mean, I would love to have them on. I would go toe to toe with any of them. Recently at a city event, one of these two gentlemen walked up to me and said that you and I were highly miseducated on these issues, John, you know, and that we needed to educate ourselves, you know, because we're spreading lies. And I mean, like, come on, man, propaganda doesn't work on me like that.
Excuse me, F you, come on the show and educate us then.
Honestly, again, great point. All right, I want to just play a little bit of Alderwoman at Large Keisha Gibson Carter's speech at this weeping time while I queue up the next stuff. Okay.
All right.
To recognize that quite people perish for the lack of knowledge. I want to say this to our people today, especially to you in the media, for those of you who can hold on to an ounce of integrity. Recognize where you are today. Don't take for granted this media moment. Don't take for granted this live. But if you will just allow yourself to recognize that quite possibly, Savannah Morning News, you are on the precipice of something special that is happening right here in Savannah, Georgia, that will be a part of our nation's history forever. Amen. Yes. Allow yourself to ponder that. Just like those precious cobblestones.
Amen.
On the foundation of River Street. That so many drunken people stumble over, not knowing the history. Can we here in Savannah be known more for Spanish moss and a red cup? Is that too much to ask?
Amen.
Amidst a community who generates the most money for Georgia, only second to Atlanta, amidst a community who boasts of being the tourism capital of the Southeast, amidst a community who has one of the wealthiest ports in the nation, amidst a community who is sandwiched by two of the poorest cities in Georgia, Garden City and Brunswick, Georgia, amidst her own place, where we are making up quickly nearly 3 times the national average in poverty, with a supermajority on council. No, my people, this is not just simply about Black and brown people. This is a human dignity issue. Yes. So I submit to you in the Capitol, I submit to you in the State House, I submit to you in the White House. You are not allowed to call yourself a citizen of these great states, and you don't take up the cause of the weak and time.
I love that. Speech there from the Alderwoman. Just really powerful stuff. You know, seeing it live was quite something. And I love how she incorporates the tourism aspect here, because I want to before we talk about, you know, the city manager redistricting issue that I want to talk about, I want to pull up the Marinelli and Owens piece on the commute as well, and just talk about it, because I just think that, you know, the criticism that we only care about tourism, SCAD, the ports, you know, that's legitimate criticism, right? It's a legitimate criticism that we need people to come to grips with.
Well,
go ahead, John.
This is a little aside, but it's still in the tourism realm, Chuck. Without identifying the person, I have it on good accord that a new tour is being developed for Savannah, and it's the political corruption tour of Savannah.
Tell me more.
Well,
I got to go all the way back to Oglethorpe to start that.
I'm thinking it will be a comprehensive tour, is what I'm told, but it will not, like my son's history education at Savannah Country Day stopped at World War II, and he was a student there, in 2002. No, this will be comprehensive, going back to the founding and right up to the current time, and I think there's a market for that, and so do the developers. So I know Joe and Michael won't be thrilled about that, because all they like are blue skies and unicorns for tour subjects. That's why they don't cover or support the weaving time. But that's on the boards, on the planning boards, and I'm going to do what I can to help it, come alive.
Was it true that, we heard a small rumor that, Marinelli was thinking about running for mayor if Van vacated and ran for something higher? Was that a couple months ago?
Yeah.
Because the reason I say that is because, but I tell you, John, these guys know how to sell. I mean, these guys are selling, because it's a dual track job. It's a triple track job. Like you're selling the visitors on coming, right? You're selling the government on policy, and you're selling the voters that everything's hunky dory and the visitors are paying for your infrastructure projects.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that, I know, Chuck, but the Broughton Street facelift is the prime example of how.
Let's watch that real quick and then comment real quick, okay?
Okay.
You just released this ad this morning, or yesterday morning rather, and it's like
over 24 hours.
3,000 views already. Let's watch it real quick, okay?
Okay, am I going to win an Addy for that?
I think you should. No, I do think you should. I think you should win best something of the year from one of these publications sooner or later here, John.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand, like, you have to boil these messages down to 30 seconds so that a lot of people will see them.
Yeah, well, that's 15.
I know, that's not even 30. It's really fast. It's really clear. It's really distinct. And again, it's not that we're opposed to the project writ large, right? It's an example, right? It's an example of policy choices that move forward despite COVID, despite being way behind, despite being a major impact as tourism recovered out of the pandemic in the first place.
Yeah, well, I'll point out a few things, Chuck. Number one, to my knowledge, no one has revealed how many local contractors and people are employed in that project. That's a problem for me, given our 28% poverty level. $17 million project, 28% poverty. Somebody needs to vet that $17 million project to see how much of that money is being spent locally with local workers. Okay.
Well, if you, and I got to pull it up here, if you look at that photo that was shared by the Ordinary Pub, right?
Yeah.
The guys they got working on that project don't look like they're working very hard. Let me pop this back in. Here's these guys. They look like they're all standing around to me, John.
Well,
again, for our listeners on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts, we're looking at a photo share from Ordinary Pub. This was a viral, post in the last week about this project, kind of part of the inspiration for making the ad. Who are these people? That's the question. That's just the question.
What my question is, can you pull that back up, Chuck?
Yeah.
What in the hell are all the people looking at?
You talking about the people in the background? Okay, yeah. So this is the entire staff, I think, of Ordinary Pub with some guests because they hit. So what happened is they hit a water main or something. I don't remember what happened exactly. I think it's in here. It looks like it says they hit a water pipe, and it just shut them down.
All right.
So yeah, the folks in the background are a badass staff showing Astra the faces that their bad decisions and incompetence are affecting negatively. So yeah, this is like back of the house, front of the house staff of the restaurant.
Gotcha.
Basically, giving them the middle finger because you suck. I mean, now again, I've made a lot of jabs that look. I think Mayor Johnson and Connect Savannah should be required to throw a block party for every single one of these blocks coming off of this project. That's the only way, right?
Well, why shouldn't they be reimbursed for their business losses, Chuck?
Hey, man.
I mean, is that so outlandish?
I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on Facebook.
Okay, look at let's just be as simplistic as possible about this. It's been 16 or 18 months.
Sure.
They've done 2 blocks. Okay.
That's not a good track record. I think the Transcontinental Railroad got built faster.
Yeah. Well, I wonder where the Pikes Peak is going to be. Maybe it'll be in the B Street Salon block. I don't know.
Promissory Point will be at the salon, buddy.
But let me make this point. We will be voting in a new council before this project is done.
Wow.
Look, look how far away the election is. There's no way they're going to finish it before the next election.
All right, so
not going to be a pretty story to explain as an incumbent.
I'm going to put this comment up on the screen here. In either 2018 or 2019, the Georgia Tourism Bureau of Atlanta gives the governor a big tourism tax check every year. At this event, one of the large companies that was hired to survey tourists that come to Savannah said that the tourists really want to see cultural, authentic places and sites, not wanting to see history set up like in Disneyland. I couldn't agree more, Sharon.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think that's connecting to this weeping time issue we've been talking about. But I think in a broader sense, it connects to an issue that is like, why would we invest in these people and these institutions like Visit Savannah when they're not doing anything, changing? They're not doing what we want them to do. We need different institutions and different leaders.
Well, you notice with the hotel motel tax debate earlier this year about increasing it by 2%.
Yeah.
Marinelli and Owens jumped up and down and said, "Oh, we've got to have this extra revenue so we can promote African-American tourism and conventions," right? That's their words. They were under no obligation to say that. But I suspect they wanted to put a happy face and a nice spin, nice flavor to their support for collecting this extra revenue. Having said that, why are they silent on the weeping time? I mean, that would be the cornerstone, keystone, pinnacle of African-American tourism highlights, depressing as it is, but as important as it is, and they're not supporting preserving it. So go figure. It's just more Savannah hypocrisy and double standards as far as I'm concerned. All
right, well, let's listen in a little bit to our good old friends Marinelli and Owens on the Commute podcast. This is about 2 weeks ago with editorial page director Adam Van Brimmer. I'll probably skip around once or twice here.
And Adam's welcome to come on this show. We got to say this every single show until he agrees to it, which he probably never will. But
you know what? And I'll do you one even better.
All right.
Adam, John can just come on your show one-on-one. He doesn't even have to have me there. You don't
have to come to our house.
I don't even have to be there, man. You can just talk with John alone. John, why don't you rattle off a couple other names of people like that? Because I think there's a couple others that, if you just want to chat with John here, we're happy to have you on the show regardless.
We have this reputation of good cop, bad cop, and I guess because of my seniority and and whatnot. I'm the good cop, and I'm more than happy to go over to Adam's house and do it, or Marinelli's, or I'll leave the bad cop behind, and we'll talk. We'll talk policy. We'll talk reasonably, and let's not be afraid of it. I welcome it. So it's always an invitation.
We're flexible, is what John is saying. That's all.
Yeah.
We're flexible here. So come on the show and talk to us. All right, let's listen into this.
Nick Palumbo too has
sure. I mean, Curtis Purdy. These are all people who, at one point or another, sought our advice and or chopped it up with us to discuss policy.
Yes. And guess what? We haven't changed our positions.
Right.
They have. They have.
And again, like, if you want to say that it's more politically advantageous for you to not advocate for what you advocated for, why don't you just say that? But look, we'll get more into it. Let's listen into to this episode.
I think it's important to remember that, as we do see new product, new investment, new ideas, and new places come into this market, we're not leaving behind our institutions, right? It's not.
Hey, John, right off the top,
yeah.
I just want to play this line from Owens again. Okay. All right. So this is like halfway through the episode. They're talking about coming out of COVID. We kind of get through the intros and we get to the meat of the section.
And Michael Owens, Tourism Leadership Council head.
Tourism Leadership Council CEO. This is trade industry representative group for
a powerful and influential man.
Yeah, hoteliers. Major tourism interests. All right,
is a big deal. We just got word last night from a big citywide convention that will come here in Impact. On a lot of different fronts, not just putting heads in beds and butts in seats.
Well, and before we leave that notion of new, I think it's important to remember that as we do see new product, new investment, new ideas, and new places come into this market, we're not leaving behind our institutions, right? It's not a binary choice of well, there's a new product and so everybody else suffers. That has never been the case in our 30-year, I say 30-year history because it's really when tourism has become what it is today and its meaningful impact on our local economy. But I mean, think about it as the Plant Riverside district has come out of the ground, and Joe describes it as a game changer. Go ask the Marshall House, which was really the first historic hotel project in the city back when Payne Weber Group bought it out in 1999. Right, things going on. There's this new thing called the Mansion on Forsyth Park, and then there's something called an Andaz that's happening over there at Ellis Square. Are we going to be left behind? No, we were never left behind. We have a diversity in product offering, both new and old and historic, and that's what makes Savannah great. Is there's a little something for everybody at every different price points, at different fields. If you
All right, so we'll take a break from that real quick and come back in here. But again, I think my point of playing that clip from Michael Owens is him talking about
new product
through everything coming through the changes, that we don't forget our institutions. And what he means by that is him and Marinelli. What he means is protecting the status quo of who controls what. Okay, the Visit Savannah gets half of the hotel motel, or 44% of the hotel motel tax. Right.
Yeah.
And that money gets interspersed around that community. It eventually cycles back to the politicians who are either running on their platform or get elected on another platform and then get bought off to get reelected. I think that's kind of my point there. And so, I'm going to connect this issue to Palumbo later on, talking about the hotel motel in the sense of, I think that's a reference to that. They want to protect these things that they want because they know Savannah's changing. That's an admission that Savannah's changing, but they want to protect these institutions.
You know what? I wanted to protect my freaking quality of life living in the historic district for almost 29 years.
Tell us more.
Well, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah.
Sorry, my cat hit a.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, which one is it? Tom or T2?
No, McNeedy.
McNeederson.
McNeedy McMasters. Yeah. Look at. I want my city back, Michael Owens, Joe Marinelli. 8 million tourists a year. Forget your 14 million number. We all know that the true number, this is for Jim Marikis, is 7 or 8 million, comparable to Charleston. Okay, we should have done something at the 5 million or $6 million visitor mark, because that's about the carrying capacity of the historic district. Okay, all the more reason why. If you support the Weeping Time and it becomes a national memorial and educational center, there's some more capacity by going out to West Savannah. But as far as I'm concerned, somebody sold my city, didn't consult me, I didn't get a commission, and I appealed my property taxes and said I want a reduction because of the impacts of tourism on my quality of life and my value. So anyway, small rant. Can't hear you, Chuck.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. Sorry about that. I want to play this segment. This is about workforce housing and the future of Yamacraw Village. Again, these are the two of the tourism leaders in this community talking about the future of Yamacraw Village, a very important historic site, West Savannah. We're talking about gentrification, all these things, guys.
Housing Authority of Savannah.
Yes, Housing Authority of Savannah. Same player as the Weeping Time. Here we go again. All right. Just want to point out that, I'm not against workforce housing. I'm a big proponent of affordable housing. It's not what this issue is about. The commentary here is, why are the tourism leadership people who make tons of money, who are importing more and more jobs, and they won't support ending preemption so we can raise the minimum wage here. They won't support, what I'm saying? If they were lobbying for wage changes at the state level, John, I'd be a little bit, more understanding. They won't do anything like that for us. So now on top of that, they want to come in and start talking about the future of a historic housing project. So let's listen into this.
You were quoted in the newspaper as we were working up some series of stories on the future of Yamacraw Village. Of everybody, I guess probably people expecting you to say, yeah, that's a great thing. It's the location and everything else, and just think about the hotels and all that. And instead, you said, hey, here's another piece that could help really address the workforce housing. Of course, we've got other city or government-owned properties that are going to develop near downtown, whether it is the Canal District that's coming up or the Civic Center redevelopment on the site. From your perspective, and even out to Eastern Wharf, from your perspective, do you see some pretty big opportunities here in the near future to address this workforce housing? And can you kind of talk about why it's so important for people that work in the hospitality industry downtown to be able to live closer to where they work?
Sure. So a couple of things there. Quite a lot to unpack, but not the time to do it. Is anybody who expected me to say this is a perfect location for a hotel has never met me and doesn't know me even remotely, or what our organization does. We've never advocated for a single hotel being developed.
All right. So we're going to keep listening in a second. I just want to stop there and say, how full of shit is Michael there, right? Like to say that we haven't advocated for hotels in the last 10, 15 years, maybe not under your tenure, Michael Owens, but your organization and people connected to your organizations have most definitely put the thumb on the scale in the Edna Jackson administration and the Eddie Deloach administration to get hotels. I think that's a known fact around town. Yeah,
look at the bonding issue to Kessler for his Riverside project.
Yeah, man, $150,000 in political donations gets you a $45 million line of credit.
It's a small cost.
Right. Very nice. Let's keep listening. I just wanted to point that out to our listeners and viewers.
In our history, That's not what we do. That's not our responsibility. We think it's great that anybody want to invest in the community so long as it's going to fit into our community's vision and who we are as a community. But, you know, I've never been a guy that says we need more of any particular thing, except for I need more things for my children to do. You know, as a president, I want more interesting things for that. First of all, this is a pretty unique opportunity that we have a large parcel of land in one of the most active downtown communities in the United States, right? And the private sector is going to see, as it always has, to fill certain needs, right? That's if we don't have enough hotels, I promise you there's going to be more. If we don't have enough restaurants, there's going to be more. If there isn't a bookstore, then there's going to be. The private sector is always going to see to the demands, right? What we're not always seeing right now is a response to the demand in housing for workforce level housing or entry level housing, so on and so forth. And a lot of that, frankly, is due to our own well-intentioned government. Right? We saw a bipartisan House study committee 2 years ago really try to dig into the affordable housing issue in Georgia. And what they found, the number one thing at fault was themselves and municipalities and counties. The restrictions that we put on building, how difficult we've made it, how long it takes to go through the permitting process has contributed at least 30% of the cost of developing a.
All right. So not only, Michael, are you the Tourism Leadership Council CEO, you're an affordable housing expert, and now you're a regulation in the development of single-family residence expert too. 30%? What do you think this is, California here? That's ridiculous. It's called building materials tariffs from President Trump, which you don't want to mention there. And it's called supply and demand, you know, because your industry took 5-6% of units off the market from Airbnb with Airbnbs.
Chuck,
right, John?
Chuck, the huge gap and hole in Michael Owen's comments are wages.
Of always.
This is a man who is indirectly overseeing and responsible for, I think there's 28,000 people involved in hospitality. Half of those people make $9.25 an hour.
Right. And you know, it's like,
housing.
Look, I understand we're a couple of privileged white males sitting up there discussing another privileged white male's comments. But when he sits up there and talking about, I need more stuff for my kids to do, dude, you are in the highest socioeconomic rung here. You have enough money to go do whatever you need to do and want to do with your kids. It's not about you. It's about the least of these, about the people who have the least mobility, right?
At least be honest. This is a wage problem that creates an unaffordable housing condition. And this is a guy that wants to keep wages low.
Well, again, he would say like he wants the market to decide. But did the market decide that Kessler could build that hotel there? Did the market decide that the Eastern Wharf project could get done? I don't think so. Yeah. You know, it's always, I'm going to quote Martin Luther King Jr. here. You know, they want socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the rest of us.
Corporate welfare.
Correct.
Absolutely.
These guys are premier purveyors of local corporate welfare. Probably some of the best.
Yeah. Listen, it sounded a lot like Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover talk to me.
Well, you're really showing your age there, pal.
Well, listen, I wasn't alive in those guys. I'm just semi well read. Okay.
I hear you. I was making a joke. I couldn't help it, man. I couldn't help it.
And they think, of course, for our viewers, those three presidents gave us the Great Depression because they believed that government's job was to get out of the way and let market forces prevail. So here you go. Michael Owens, welcome to the Roaring 20s.
Well, you know, and then even after that, in the first term of FDR, you know, George Bush's grandfather or great-grandfather and H.W.'s grandfather was part of the business plot, the business coup, right? They tried to overthrow FDR in the first term, you know. So I mean, like, yeah, it always. I sent a quote to somebody this week, and it's from the show Narcos, and it's from Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
And it's in Spanish, but the translation roughly translates to this: "The men of always are seldom interested in the children of never."
I thought you were talking about lead and gold.
Oh no, that's a different episode. But this is more about kind of just that concept of like, it's impossible to get Michael Owens and Joe Marinelli to see things from a poor person of color's vantage point, generally in Savannah, because they're paid not to. It's another. I can't remember who made this quote. Like, it's hard to make a man believe something when his paycheck depends on it. Again, like, I find it really hard. Like, I'm happy to debate them, but I really think they believe they're right.
Yeah.
In their heart of hearts, because again, like, they're incentivized to it.
Well, they're just so profit driven, Chuck. The state gives them protection by restricting mandated wage, like an FDR.
And look, the mandated split that was agreed to 30 years ago, it probably made sense back then, John.
Sure.
Okay. Again, guys, like, we're not inflexible here. We're not hard line here. Yeah. We're talking about governing in a way where you scale things, you scale subsidies up for industries when they need them, and you scale them down when they don't need them.
Yeah. Well, dropping port container fees in the mid 1990s was a smart thing to do.
Correct.
None of us argue that point. Is it smart today? Hell no. Are we
right.
still doing it? Yes.
Now, do we have to do $16 a container like Miami or $47 a container like California? No. Okay. But to sit here and say, like, the Port of Savannah can't afford to give the county and cities $18 million, that's just laughable. This is a joke. Honestly, they lose $18 million of product out there every year. $18 million worth of product falls off of shipping containers into the ocean every year. Probably 15, 20 times that. So, like, again, like, it's a drop in the bucket, guys. Again, home building, okay? It's not 2009, right? If it's 2009, you got to scale those back. Tourism, John, you and I both live down here. Is there anybody in town who thinks tourism has not bounced back?
No. You just step out my front door. They're everywhere. By the way, listen, I just looked up the poverty rate right now for Long Beach, California. It's 16.
What's the poverty rate?
16%.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And we have no container fees and 28% poverty.
Honestly, I mean, there are third world countries with poverty rates kind of close to ours.
Yeah.
I mean, like, or countries, I'm talking about like Romania, like mid-level, like just above third world, like former Soviet bloc countries that have a lower poverty rating than we do in Savannah. Let's see here. Here's a tax. Is there a to-go cup tax or not? I think there's going to end up being for these people participating in this program. I'll be honest with you guys. I think this whole aluminum cup thing is really like trivial. It's not mandatory. It's not changing it. And we got to get Steve Willis back on the program to talk about this, John. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it takes more energy to produce an aluminum cup than it does to produce a plastic cup. Now, again, I'm not solving the waste argument here. I agree with everybody there. But, if you're talking about like net reduction of carbon, like, it's a small number, I think we're talking about here. I don't think there's like a lot of huge, it's not like a groundbreaking. I once heard Nick Palumbo stand up in a community forum about energy and independence and environmentalism and suggest that the future of Savannah was about taking the power customers away from Georgia Power. I mean, you know how radical that is, John?
Wow.
I mean, that's radical, bro. You want to start a new municipal power company and go head to head with Georgia Power?
Yeah, well.
Again, I'm not faulting the idea here.
God bless them.
But now you want to talk like this to-go cup thing is like some brand, like you discovered America, like you're Columbus.
let me bring
Columbus.
Karen Colombo. Come on, man.
Oh, I know. That one's a little. Honestly, after what I saw in the Ardsley Park group, I put this up at the beginning when we were standing by. After what I saw this week, Nick dealing with this and there. I mean, honestly, his constituents are the Karens. If we're being really honest, this was in the Ardsley Park group earlier. We love picking on Walt. You're a very funny guy, Walt. We appreciate all the laughter.
Walt's a good guy. He lived a couple houses.
He's an okay guy. We'll agree to disagree on whether he's a good guy, but he's definitely an okay guy.
Chuck, he's an okay guy. Okay.
His persona in the Facebook groups is leaves something to be wanted.
He's outspoken just like us. Come on.
Oh yeah, he is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he is.
I want to bring that
Go ahead.
cup thing back down to earth.
All right, let's talk about the cups.
Okay. It's not a bad idea. Okay.
No, it's not a bad idea.
The travesty, what was aptly called out by Keisha Gibson Carter. And she said, city council meeting, Mr. Brown, city manager, who put this on the agenda? Simple question, right?
Ooh, yeah.
And Michael Brown didn't choose his comment carefully. And his first comment was, and I'm paraphrasing, well, Keisha, it's just like all of you who asked me to put stuff on.
I'm going to pull it up. Now, tell them the context of here. This was this last week's city council meeting when Van stepped out to greet the first lady of the United States.
Yeah, go to Green Truck and promote vaccination.
Get a pie.
Yeah.
Hey, Green Truck pies are great. Please go buy one.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. This was.
Matter of fact, Green Truck is welcome to be a title sponsor on the Thursday night Better Savannah.
There you go. Happy to compete.
Yeah.
God, they do not make this easy, do they? They do not make this easy to find here. Here it is. Go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
So Keisha says, okay, well, this is all very fine and interesting, but I have a procedural question, Mr. City Manager. And I feel like I'm watching 30 Rock. And he says, well, yes, what is it? And she said, who put this on the agenda? Who requested it be on the agenda? And Brown says, and I'm sure you'll find it, Keisha, that's a silly question. Whatever you guys come to me, I put on the agenda. And I think Keisha handled it pretty well, better than I would have handled it.
I mean, honestly, when people talk about how, we've dealt with some misogynistic people claim that we're misogynistic or whatever. Yeah. And I just find it ironic that you'll come after this show that only, 1,500 people watch or whatever, and see our stuff all the time, maybe move a little bit more, but you don't think that this is misogyny.
The tragedy of this, and then you can play the clips and then people can understand where I'm going on. That was a patent, mistruth or lie from Brown. He only puts on, what Van wants, and Van's side of the aisle gets on the agenda. The other four get shut out. We all know that. That's one of the biggest problems of this council. It's a problem that is going to get addressed. We'll talk about that later or another show. We have some ideas. But the point is she forced Michael Brown to admit that Nick Palumbo requested it.
All right. This is just a message. And anybody who's connected to city manager candidates who might have gotten the job during executive session this week, when we find out in a week or two, hopefully, it is not your job to determine what political points get made and don't get made in the meeting. Okay? Michael Brown, talking to you. All right. It's not your job, dude. You're the one who's being disrespectful, bro.
Yeah. Stop.
Okay. You're like the clerk of a committee in the Georgia Assembly or the United States Congress talking back to a minority ranking member. That's what you look like. Okay. Yeah. So look, everybody can go and try to blame Keisha and Alicia for holding these people accountable. The fact of the matter is, these people really have no place to be pushing back in the first place. Let's listen into what John was talking about.
That's worthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Palumbo. Alderwoman Gibson Carter.
Yes, who presented this as an initiative? You said that you've been working on this since March. This is the first time I ever heard of this was actually when it was in this agenda book. So who presented this as an initiative?
A city manager.
I understood that this thing's been around for a long time. I don't know the history of it.
Okay, you put together the agenda. Who presented it as an agenda item?
Just like each of you present things that you want me to put on the agenda.
That does not happen, sir. Don't go
You can say
there.
what you want, but this has been out there.
I'm saying what the facts are. I asked you a question. I asked you who presented this as an agenda item.
It was presented by Alderman Palumbo.
Thank you.
Ago.
That's all you had to do was
fine.
answer my question.
Well, I would appreciate you being less rude to me. Thank you.
Okay.
Like, honestly, one of the things I love about you, John, is, you know, I make fun of your age, you know, and like,
I got my
you
life.
have never had a boomer moment like that, ever. In my 7 years, 8 years of knowing you, I've never once seen you had a boomer moment like that. You know, in what world do you get to speak to your board of directors, to your board like that, man? You know, again, Michael, it's not your place to decide whether she gets to make that political point or not. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? You don't like it, you need to talk to the mayor who put those rules package up there. Okay?
Yep.
All right? You know, honestly, I don't mind Keisha getting into it with him at all about that, because again, he is preempting the public from, he's trying to soften that blow. He's trying to soften that blow so the public doesn't see that only Van and his four have access to the agenda.
Exactly right, Chuck. And that's what I was trying to illustrate by saying, let's bring this back down to earth for a minute. That the idea of an aluminum to-go cup is not a bad idea. Okay, it needs to be looked at. I'm all for it. The critical mass or learning moment here is what we maintain is just this, you know, massive amount of hypocrisy that's going on in city council. And Keisha caught it, called it out, and said, please answer the question. So I thought it was a great illustration of one of the more heinous systemic problems that this council faces, and that is an autocratic mayor who shut down access to the agenda the first couple months he got in office. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think that the media, the mainstream media is going to spin this, you know, and people will only hear, oh, Keisha was rude.
Right.
No,
Right.
Michael Brown was rude. Okay? Michael Brown is the subordinate in this situation. Okay, guys? Like, let's remember that. Like, there is a structure here. You have a board of directors. There's a chairman. That's Van Johnson. He's the chairman of that council. He oversees that meeting, right? Okay? Everyone who is a member on that board has an equal right to question, inquisit, and demand answers from this city manager. He works for all of them. So I just, you know, again, like, I wasn't even expecting to show this clip, but my God, guys, you know.
Well, last point here, Chuck. You notice how when he was first asked, when Michael Brown was first asked, he tried to dodge the question and say, you know, some equivocating answer. Unfortunately, he chose an answer that was a bald-faced lie. That, oh, hey, it's just like any of you guys. When you want something on the agenda, baby, you just come to me and I take care of it. Well, obviously, that's not the case. So, you know, a huge blunder, huge gaffe, great example of yet more hypocrisy on this wonderful thing we call Savannah city government.
Yeah, he did. He got tongue-tied, got twisted and confused. Again, it's just like, you know how, this is my advice to you, Michael Brown, and to whoever the next city manager is. If you don't want to get into a situation like that, then don't do anything to put yourself in that situation. The appropriate response to her question was, ma'am, this initiative was started by Alderman Palumbo of the 4th District with support from the following members. You should have specifically outlined exactly who got that. Or you should have said, hey, this was from from Nick Palumbo from the 4th District, but the mayor supported it, so it's on the agenda. That is a simple enough answer. End of story. And if you say that with an appropriate tone of voice immediately back, you're not going to have a problem, you know?
No.
So
It's
again,
not
like,
a perfect world, Chuck.
why are we blaming, you know, the council member for actions of a subordinate? You know, like,
you know why? It's the same reason the Savannah Morning News spins their articles the way they do. It's the same reason Adam Van Brummer, you know, formulates his positions the way he does. There's a conscious effort to minimize the people on council whose only sin is trying to change business as usual. And they are being crushed and ridiculed and attacked by all the institutions that benefit when things don't change. So that's our whole reason for existing, right? I mean, that's what we do at Better Savannah, is we say, this is where it's at. This is how it ought to be.
Yeah, I just want to throw out there, before we go to our last topic, I just want to throw a note out there for people. You know, there's only so much John and I can keep up with. You know, obviously I kind of called this show like the catch-up show in the background, and I labeled it Back in the Garden because, like, you know, there's a lot to catch up on. And one thing that we don't have a lot on is the fairgrounds issue. There was 2 public meetings this week and a live city workshop today about it. You know, anybody who wants to dig into that with us in a future episode, I'd really love to drill down on that. I just don't have enough time to dig into that particular issue as much. But before we get into this last topic, I want to just give you an opportunity for you to address anything that we missed, John.
No, I think your characterization that this is kind of like a vegetable soup where we're cleaned out the refrigerator and put everything in it that needed to be in it to get it cleaned up, but we're back on track and ready to go. And hey, man, it's a busy landscape politically. I will comment. I don't know if this is your last thing. I doubt that it is, but I sat through Van's date night show on Friday, Chuck, and he spent you know, almost a full hour being a victim and saying that there are people out there trying to ruin him and that are lying about him and who are misrepresenting his intentions. And it just, to me, one, it was not a good look for a mayor of a city. 2, I don't think he was accurate. And 3, it just sort of confirms that his popularity is waning. This COVID deal is passing, and he doesn't have that to lean on. So constituents are also aware of this, and they're expecting some outcomes or some results or some policy that is, you know, tangible, meaningful. It doesn't have to be big; could be medium or small.
It's just a small sample of what John's talking about. Okay, it's just a small sample.
There it is. Yeah.
You will put up with foolishness. You think about it. There are people in your life.
The video audio is kind of messed up.
Yeah, there's a lag.
Nothing good is going on in their life. They may have mental issues, or they may have some type of, I don't know what it is, but there's no joy in their life. And so the only way that they seem to get pleasure is to keep up stuff. And they don't mind if it's stuff that's not true. They just throw stuff out there, throw stuff out there. And I mean, and again, a lie don't care who tells it. And so for me, I have to make a choice about whether I'm going to engage and entertain foolishness.
Let me just say, Mr. Mayor, it looks like you're engaging and entertaining your own foolishness here. Okay, you know, like you're gonna get on a whole show and boo-hoo You know, I mean, honestly, man, I expect better than that. You know, I really do. That's a little disappointing.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say it.
I hear you, man. I know. Honestly, like, Van, you're formidable, man. Like, you're a formidable politician, dude. Like, you have a minimum you have a base of popularity in this city that is stronger than a lot of people, right? Like, I'm not worried about you, man. Yeah. Your feelings are hurt because people are telling you how they feel about decisions you and your council are making, about the fact that you haven't fired this police chief yet when we only have 464 officers. Yeah. You know, and you know, you had to fire 5 because they potentially murdered a man. You know, I get, you know, allegedly, you know, who knows? I don't know what I'm supposed to say there, but I guess the GBI cleared them. There were no crimes committed, but clearly policy was violated because they all got fired. So I don't know, man. I just think that is a telltale sign. You know, people who are adamant that, you know, Van and his crew are doing a good job, it's becoming a smaller circle. I'm noticing a lot of people are not in that rah, we got to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, wait till he and his posse of, you know, his 5 votes takes half the American Recovery Act money and pockets it for the city budget.
I mean, you know, I just think it's astounding that we're going to do that. Did you hear? Oh, by the way, the water department, 25 million behind. 25 mil. I thought the number was like 10.
Should check
2.5 times.
It's an enterprise account. Look at the reserves.
Yeah, but that's the same enterprise account that's got the second largest source of bonds. The parking fund has the most on them. I feel like a broken record half the time. I commented this on one of Mauricus's statuses this last week. Shout out to Jim Mauricus at the Savannah and go subscribe.
Yeah.
I said, man, like, I feel like everybody just ignored me because I was a little bit younger then. 2016, 2017. I was a little younger. I was a little less polished, believe it or not.
You were a bad cop back then?
Oh, man, I was a bad boy, man. And, you know, like, I just remember telling people, like, guys, like, these bonds that Eddie and Van are putting up are going to come back to haunt us because we're going to be in position where things are too tight because we've got too much debt loaded down. And I you know, somehow I told you so never really feels good enough.
It's always a little hollow. I get it.
Yeah. But give me some thought here. Let me pull up this last piece here on the producer section. Go ahead, John.
No, I'm ready to see it. I just think Van's losing it a little bit, and I don't think this American Recovery Act is going to work out well for him. I think they're going to hijack the money.
All right, so there are, like I said, guys, earlier in the show, there's like 4 critical issues floating around Savannah right now. We got these federal funds from the Recovery Act. We've got the weeping time. We've got the city manager, and we've got the budget issue. Okay, so you know, I don't see success coming on a lot of these for, you know, any of them on council really, but particularly the governing majority. This next clip, this last listening piece, this is from June 22nd. Okay, so this came out while we were recording our stuff before we went on vacation, and I circled it on I put a tab in it, so to speak. Right. Again, this is Adam Van Brimmer, Savannah Morning News editorial page director, Nick Palumbo, alderman for the 4th district, our man in New Amsterdam. All right, that's a deep cut reference, if anybody gets that. But this is, you know, after they talk about the city manager thing, this is about council division, and it's not in the title or in the description, but I want you guys to notice where Alderman Palumbo takes this discussion, okay? Because it's fascinating and scary. It's bad to me. So let's listen in, and I'll pause it. I'll pause it once or twice, and we'll talk, John. But But be forewarned, this is like a 4 to 5 minute clip. So there's a lot of context that you're going to have to absorb, listening into it. Again, this is from 3 weeks ago.
And all of the candidates in the interviews, they nailed it where they saw the highest was the challenge.
Right.
So for poverty reduction, you've had Michael Brown, float some very interesting ideas from everything related to universal basic income to increased wage growth. None of them are easy tasks to tackle, but they all do work in synergy. They're all part of the same realm and they're related to each other. So I think for Savannah, everybody that comes here, everybody who's born here has to have a shot to be successful. We have to make sure that those barriers that might be blocking people from that success are taken out, and then foster that success at the next level. The strides we've made in affordable housing are very promising, but we have to do 10 times more.
Got to get an ordinance down.
So just before we go on, all right, that premise of like, we all want to work towards these same issues. He's talking about, we ran on similar things. We're going to get a new city manager. We have to focus on these things so that we can make things better for everybody. And when you lead with a premise like that, what you're setting up is that the next thing you say is what's stopping you from getting there, right? Okay, you understand where I'm going with that, John?
Yeah.
Right. So like he puts this whole premise together about where we're all trying to go. There's divisions on council, but we all ran on the same issue. Listen to the next part of this.
All right.
You got to get some zoning fixes done, right?
You got to get some zoning down, and I don't think that the challenge is even the biggest challenge is cost. It's going to be where does it go? Where does it go? Because you'll hear it from the individual districts of, yes, affordable housing, not here, but somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of NIMBY going on, no doubt.
But it is, it's just a city of 150,000 people. It's one Manhattan-sized neighborhood together.
Right.
And we've had the districts cut a certain way for a long time. I think it's led to some of the division that's here. All political districts are gerrymandered no matter what. We will get the opportunity to change those next year.
That's right.
And how can that reflect a better Savannah for the future? How can that reflect better policies, more equitable, more fair? And how do we get beyond these silos to actually get the job done? Because if we don't, we should all go.
All right. So we've got the next step is redistricting. Okay. So premise, we all want to get to this better Savannah, right?
Yeah.
Here's what we need to do it, right? This once in a decade opportunity. Why he pivots to this issue, I don't know the answer to it. Nick, you're welcome to come on here, anywhere, and defend yourself. But what he says next, when you connect these two premises, is a little unnerving.
May I make one point?
Go ahead, John.
I wish everyone on council would stop saying our population is 150,000 people. Okay, it's 150,000 people plus 11,000 SCAD students plus 30 or 40,000 annualized visitors and about 3,000 to 4,000 homeless. Okay, it's not 150,000 people. That's a distortion and a mistake, and they need to stop doing it. Go ahead.
All right.
All of us, we're gone.
Yeah. Let's talk about that process, because I know that everybody's familiar with the fact that the U.S. congressional districts and then the Georgia General Assembly districts are going to be changed this fall. How does the process work when it after that is done? Does the state legislature then take on the municipal districts?
Well, the good thing and the interesting thing about, this is we have to reinvent the wheel every decade because we only do it once every 10 years.
Right.
So all the folks who probably did it last time, I don't know if they're around this time.
In our delegation, they probably are, unfortunately.
That's right, to be fair. Now, I know that Carl Gilliard is, Representative Gilliard is on the committee at the state level, but I believe the process will work its way down to the Planning Commission, which then they'll make a proposal and we'll have to figure it out from there. There does need to be some more fairness to the process. I have
one more interruption here. Again, he's breaking down that the Planning Commission, he's calling out the players. I would call this laying a marker down. And I want people to read between the lines. you know, after this live broadcast is over, if you're listening to this, like rewind it, listen to what he's saying in the sequence in which he's saying it, right? So, you know, he's basically laying a marker down here. Our Metropolitan Planning Commission, MPC, you know, this is on you. You are the source for this solution. Okay, you're the source. So I just wanted to point that out. Let's listen to this next bit.
A very strange district that's level,
Mhm.
but I believe the process will work its way down to the planning commission,
Okay.
which then they'll make a proposal and we'll have to figure it out from there.
Mhm.
You know, there does need to be some more fairness to the process. I have a very strange district. It's only 8 blocks wide in some portions. It's 85% white. You know, it's literally, there are parts that are barely connected to other parts that are there. We know that the districts are gerrymandered and they're cut certain ways. And that's led to division on our council.
Right.
That's unnecessary. It doesn't need to be there anymore. And we've got to find better geographical boundaries that are there that help promote more cohesion. You don't have to be a team like the Rusakas team.
I'm just going to rewind this. I want to play what he just said for everybody again, John. Okay? Listen to what he just said.
Process. I have a very strange district. It's only 8 blocks wide in some portions. It's 85% white. You know, it's literally, there are parts that are barely connected to other parts that are there. We know that the districts are gerrymandered and they're cut certain ways. And that's led to division on our council.
Right.
That's unnecessary. It doesn't need to be there anymore. And we've got to find better geographical boundaries that are there that help promote more cohesion. You don't.
John, you know, I don't know how you can listen to what he just said in the sequence he said it and not come away with, oh, this guy doesn't think there should be this many black people on city council. I don't know how you can't take away that conclusion.
Well, at a minimum,
tell me how I'm wrong. Give me the devil's advocate here.
All right,
advocate for the devil for. I'm sorry, not the devil. Advocate for Nick Palumbo here.
Okay.
Tell me how I'm wrong to conclude that based on what you just said.
You know, my biggest takeaway, Chuck, and it doesn't quite go to your takeaway, is what he's saying is the maps are the reason we have a divided council. The maps are why we have dissension in this council. I think.
Let me put here. Let me push back, John. Okay, 3 of 9 council people are elected citywide, so that's 30%. Okay, so you know these maps have been relatively stable for 20 consecutive years. Okay, the city maps don't change that much. Now they probably will this time because of the massive growth in New Hampstead, the Highlands, and Bradley Point South. These 3 subdivisions on the outskirts, but you know beyond that. Man, you know, John, council divisions, this is the first time we've had a majority black. This is the first time we've had 5 black women on council. Yep. And now the maps are the problem?
Yeah, well, that's my point.
This racist ass Bush League thinking you're only going to have the white audience members hear that, Nick. Okay? You know, everyone hears your public statements, dude. You know, as a matter of fact, I would use that public statement against a map that seemed unfair for NPC when it gets reviewed in court. You know, like you can't. It's like the president coming out. Oh, this person charged with this is not guilty. Like you're influencing the outcome, man. Like complaining about the rules of the game, and you're only 18 months in. You know, welcome to what your minority colleagues are dealing with, not being able to put something on council. You think it's not cohesive? You guys aren't a family enough? This isn't.
Well, listen.
This isn't Boy Scouts, man. This is real life. This isn't a corporate training seminar.
There's 3 or 4 people, Chuck, on council who want to change business as usual. They are honest to God change agents. They believe in change, orderly change, but necessary change. And then you've got the other side of which Nick is a member. And, you know, look at Nick's priorities. Nick's priorities are aluminum to-go cups, keeping us updated on historic photos, and subdivision plats for Ardsley Park. He has not, he does not support the Weeping Time preservation.
But he's a historic preservation supporter.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I'm just disappointed. I saw Nick, he came up in my Facebook memories the other day. About 7 years ago, he appeared for the first time in front of me at a Massey School historical presentation.
I remember the exact.
Do you remember that?
I remember that. I remember exactly what you're talking about.
And I said, wow, man, who is this guy?
Who is this guy?
He is freaking amazing. He could be a mayor. He could be our future mayor. Okay. To say that I moderated my opinion would be an understatement, but
sure.
Nonetheless, it's not the maps, Nick, that are causing the dissension on council. The dissension is you've got 4 people that want to change business as usual, and you've got your side that wants to preserve the status quo. Be fucking honest.
And the reason we know this is that 90 days into your term, you, along with 4 other members, including the mayor, changed the rules package, which is what Keisha was referencing in that clip a little earlier. Let's listen in this last little bit here, okay?
All right.
We don't have to be a team like the Rusakis team, but we do need to start acting, more like colleagues, more collegial, and more like a family. Even if families don't get along, not every family agrees on everything, but to be professionals about it, because we do have the same thing in mind. Even for the folks, the greatest distractors on the council, their heart and their minds, they're on the topic of trying to improve the quality of life for everyday Savannah.
Yeah, and I think that gets overlooked. And obviously, I'm somebody who's been very, very critical of some folks on this council that tend to not want to play well with others. But I think it is important to point out that those people, their heart's in the right place. It's the way they're executing upon what their belief is that seems to be the biggest hang up.
That's right. And any execution in some ways is unsustainable when you burn that bridge. And how do you go back across that, to be able to build that bridge? And for me, my phone is always on and the door is always open. But that is getting tougher to cross with every single time that this happens.
Right.
Personal attacks or whatever it is. And, we've looked at, some interesting funding possibilities, charging admission and tickets to the city council meetings as a new funding opportunity, selling popcorn, whatever.
You sell it to Bravo or something like
the joke
shits.
The jokes aside at the end there, I just want to say to you, Nick, for you to say that the well's been poisoned, but you're up here talking about making sure that maps get drawn so that there's not as many black people on council, bro. I don't really think we have a good definition of who is poisoning the well here. Okay. It's your side who changed the rules. It's your side who's had 5-4 decisions on the key things. Okay. Again, I'm just not seeing how you can blame the other side. But look, I hope that you guys found some common ground on the city manager. We haven't heard a lot about this. Now, supposedly the city council had an executive session this week and may have made a decision. I don't really know, John.
Me neither.
But, look, it's not personal, Nick. It's just, you can't get up here and say this type of stuff, man. You really can't do that. That is not. When you have the fear of gentrification at play in the black community, as strong as it is here, rightfully so, you can't come up on here in public comments been talking about making sure that the districts get drawn so that we don't have division on council anymore because there's too many blacks on council. I just think you can't square those positions away, man.
If Nick's having a panic attack on this council, I'll go out and make a prediction that Nick will be reelected to his district.
Sure.
But Mr. Palumbo will be in a minority position in the next council. So
you remember when Van was in the outs, like midway through his career. Remember he was like not on the inside there for a while.
Yeah, it was the split. It was Tony, Estella, and Van.
I'm even before that though. Even in the Edna administration, he really wasn't in on the in super inside.
Right.
That was Carol Bell, Bordeaux, Mary Osborne.
And was waiting for his turn.
I see that Commissioner Larry Gator Rivers is commenting here. And speaking of waiting your turn, I want to say to you, Commissioner Rivers, please go past the damn budget. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Why are we being held up by our chairman, Chester Ellis, over what seems to be $300,000 to the district attorney's office, guys?
Yeah.
We're spending $6 million. We're spending $6 million to house 70 inmates for 3.5 years, and we can't find 300 G's in a tax digest that just increased revenue for the county.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Gator? Call Gator. Let me tell you what you need to do. All right. And I'm just telling you this, because this is what needs to happen. You need to call Helen Stone. You need to call Tanya Milton, and you need to go take them to the other 3 commissioners that are getting tired of this shit, and get them to pass a budget outside of Chester. You need 6 votes out of 9 to do that. The votes are there. You got to just get it. So, you're welcome to come on here and talk about it in the future, Gator, but I know that y'all are supposed to meet tomorrow morning to vote on that budget, John. This is the county budget, the courts and the DA and the jail. This has been a big issue lately.
Yep.
So,
Chuck, we didn't get to, and I'm sure we're not going to get to it, but the whole police staffing thing and Minter's.
Yeah, man.
Front page today.
I want to just let's stick on this for a few minutes and then end the show. All right, because I noticed in the comments, we've had a lot of activity on the page this week, right? We got a lot of people viewing the ad. We got a lot of people, talking about city manager, talking about weekly time.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the crime issue, again, I see a lot of people are defaulting, and I don't know if it's because of the Democratic primaries and the narratives. I see a lot of people defaulting to, we don't need more police, defund the police or whatnot. Guys, it's 564 officers or 464 officers working. We're supposed to have 540. We're just trying to get back to that number right now. Okay. And then more importantly, I did this math in the comments, and then I'll let you comment, John. As I know I'm dominating this show. I feel bad. I'm dominating it here. But you do the math, guys. 464 divided by 145,000 residents. That's 3.7 officers per 1,000. Still a little low. We really should be at 4 or 5. Okay? But 3.7, acceptable. Right, John? Right? Well, when you add in the populations that John and I are always discussing, students, military personnel, tourists, we're really talking about a serviceable district of 200 to 220,000 people. You're talking about 2.5 officers per 1,000 served in that district level, guys. Okay? You want to know why crime's going up? We don't have the appropriate police. And this isn't like a back the blue argument. It's just a do the right thing and staff the police level according to the needs.
Yep.
I mean, how else can we say that better? We got to get an ad we got to put an ad together that we could sell people about this, because guys, I'm all for police reform. Chief Minter's got to go. Okay. Somebody died in our police headquarters and they fired 5 officers over it. That's obvious to us. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's just a thing where we can't get a grip on this crime until the poverty changes and the staffing levels change. We can't change the poverty overnight, but we can hopefully staff up a police department in 6 months.
Chuck, I hate to sound like a broken record, but again, I'm going to take you to task. You did what Palumbo did, and that is, you said this is a city of 145 or 150,000 people. We know it is not. That is an inaccurate population number. Okay, there are 145,000 census permanent residents, but there are 10 or 11,000 SCAD students. There are 30 to 40,000 tourists on an annualized, 2.5 day annual trip, average trip number, and you got 4,000 homeless. So, rework your numbers, and you'll see that even at 540 budgeted officers, you're still understaffed. And on top of that, you've had such horrific attrition, starting with the Willie Lovett years. We're going back 10, 15 years. You've never gotten up to par. You've never counted the entire population set. And now, through attrition, you have a rookie department running around, understaffed, trying to improve the crime status or stats. And that's not a winning formula, okay? Minter came here, was brought here specifically to change things and improve things. Things have not improved. Things have not changed. Things have gotten worse. Why we continue to keep this gentleman in command is counterintuitive.
I think I'm going to quote a 6th District resident from our episode a couple weeks ago called "Commute to a Southside Town Hall."
All right,
and this is for both Chief Minter and for the mayor. You have the burden of command, sir. Okay, I'm sorry, this isn't easy. I know that crime is spiking because we're running out of funds for the bottom 10, 15, 20% or whoever who's going to struggle, and that's going to make things worse. I understand that. I'm sympathetic to the position you're in. But when you guys are doing nothing on an agenda to change business as usual, you expect everybody to give you a free pass and you want to complain and whine how it's not your fault. You have the burden of command, sirs. And, at the risk of offending you, John, to quote your mother, I didn't put you in that position. You did. You took this job, Chief Minter. You ran for mayor, after 16 years on council. Just trying to hold you guys accountable.
Yeah. In all objectivity, Minter probably should have been handled by Michael Brown before Michael Brown steps off the stage.
Let's end on this. No, John, say what you're going to say here. This is hugely important, guys.
Well, what I'm going to say is probably not what you think I was going to say, but I was going to say that next week's show, we're going to have Kevin Grogan on, who is, a former policeman on the Savannah PD. He's written a book about it. He's kind of outspoken, but he is incredibly insightful. And we may not agree with everything that he posits, but I think we're going to have an exciting educational opportunity next week. I just want to promote that show, Chuck. What do you think I was going to say?
Oh, I thought you were going to say about Michael Brown. You were intimating that Michael Brown needs to handle this before he leaves.
Well, I did. Yeah.
I think you were thinking about it, though. All right. So, what sense does it make to hire a city manager with a crippling police department and a police chief who needs to go? Guys, if you want to be successful, Nick Palumbo, Mayor Johnson, you guys should get an executive committee and tell Mayor Michael Brown to fire the chief before he retires. Okay? Let the new city manager start fresh, because if the new city manager has to come in and fire the chief, it's like exhausting political capital that is unnecessarily so. It's an unforced error. Do the right thing. Fire the chief. You got 40% of the department doesn't want to work, for him. Or my thoughts are find some reinforcements and get some help elsewhere. So, guys, it's been a long show. We've been off for 2 weeks. So I know we touched a ton of topics. I'm going to go through afterwards and try to rewrite the show description with the links and everything so that it's all there. please, if you guys want to help us, the very least you can do is share this stream. Pretty well attended stream tonight. We appreciate the live viewers. And if you are sharing it, you can share our YouTube, Spotify, any place you get your podcast. Basically, you can access this show as well. And again, if you are in a position to support, go to www.bettersavannah.org and become a member. Join, subscribe. If you don't want to go to the website, if you're a Patreon user, you can join that way. It's super easy. If it's patreon.com/BetterSavannah. All of our shows, and including our member-only shows, will be there. You should be at the bottom. Anna, you should be able to share it. And if not, go back to the page itself, onto Better Savannah's page. You'll be able to share the stream directly from there. So like John said, we're going to have Kevin Grogan on next week. I've got a couple of problems with his book and some of the things he's written, John, but he's an expert. He's an expert though. So I'm happy to gather his expertise and challenge him on a few things and have a really good chat with him. We're still getting ready to start interviewing candidates for statewide offices. I saw John Eves was on ATR the other night. Looking forward to having him. He's running for Secretary of State. If you know of candidates that want some exposure here in the Savannah area, they're running statewide, please have them contact us. You can contact us at bettersavannah2021@gmail.com, or you can just message the page. John, I appreciate, as always, you taking your time to do the show with us here. We appreciate that you started this Better Savannah to be able to have an outlet for a better narrative.
I want to close, Chuck, by a couple shout outs. Number one,
shout them out.
We can't thank Jason Bible and the train wrecks enough for graciously giving us that wonderful
song for Sally.
Yeah, music bed song for Sally. Whenever the train wrecks play, don't miss them. Great local band, awesome people, and we're indebted to them. Also, our friends at ATR, Julius Hall, candidate for mayor of Fort Wentworth, and all the shows and content that he brings. And then Jim Marikis in the Savannian.
Yeah.
We are we're unaffiliated officially, but
of course not. Yeah.
We all are fighting for the same thing, and that is to put a dent in business as usual and try to build a better, stronger, better community. And it starts with government. So I just wanted to shout out those people. Thanks.
Absolutely. One more quick shout out. Somebody tell Eddie Deloach to come on our show. I wanna say, Eddie, I might have been a little hard on you, man. I never thought I'd miss him, man, but I really miss him. I just like I wish Jason Buelterman was the chairman. We'd be getting so much more done right now. You know? Well, I'd love to have Eddie come on the show and talk to us about that at some point. All right.
It could happen. Eddie is one of the most gracious, kind people I've encountered in politics. And
I like him. He's so likable. Such a nice guy. He's conservative. He listens to the wrong people at a lot of times in his career, I think. But, he had great intentions. And, let me just say it this way. Eddie Deloach would never get on a public comment record and talk about changing the maps of Savannah. Yeah. Okay. Let's just agree to that.
In the way that Nick did. In the way
in the way that Alderman Palumbo did. Eddie Deloach would never do that. And I think there's something to be said about that. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into the live stream. I think we'll probably have a members only episode between now and next week. So please make sure, if you want to get access to all of our content, go to our website, subscribe, go to Patreon, and follow us. And again, share our content. See you guys next week. All right.